I'd like to call the meeting to order. Caden Kellner from Boy Scout Troop 50 in Pleasant Valley is going to start us off with the pledge. I put the mic on for you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to our meeting. Mary Beth?
Councilwoman Chapman.
Here.
Councilman Deegan.
Here.
Councilman Al Pacino.
Here.
Councilman Reifenberg.
Here.
Supervisor Albrecht. Town
Here.
Town Attorney Emily Swenson. Here. All present.
I'd like to entertain the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
There are no public hearings tonight. I'd like to entertain the receipt and acceptance of the minutes from 4/1/24.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All official correspondence is on file in the town clerk's office. Tonight, we have a presentation from, again, Eagle Scout Project. Caden Kellner is going to stand up and do his presentation on what he's going to do for his Eagle Scout.
Turn the microphone.
So, good evening. My name is Caden Kellner, and I'm from Troop 50, and I would like to present my Eagle Scout project. So my Eagle Scout project is a flybrary, and how it works is it's give a fly, take a fly. So if you have a fly you don't need, you can put it on, and if you need one, you can take one. So that, and here's a diagram of what the thing would look like. So you have the sign, it'll be like 2 feet in the ground, another 4 feet above the ground, and then a 2x3 sign on it, and then like the bottom half on the front will be pictures of the fish that are in the creek, and then there'll be a 3-inch protrusion plexiglass box on the top, which will contain like a log board for what you catch, and also that's where the fly box for the flybrary itself will be. And then on the back there will be a history of the stream on it. And then below that, there will be a hatch chart so that you know which fly to use when you're fishing during which fishing season. So for the history of the Wappinger Creek has that's the history for it. So that's what's going to be on the back of the sign. So on the Wappinger Creek hatch chart, the main hatches in there are the stoneflies, the caddis, the Hendrickson, the March brown, the ants, beetles, grasshoppers, the gray wolf, and the Cahill. And those are what the different insects and things look like. So that's what they'll look like. And that's what you'll want to imitate if you're tying. And that's like what the chart will look like. So the colored in boxes are like what the things will be using. That's like the size and the month that they would hatch in. And there's also a size indicator there, so the bigger the number, the smaller the fly. And then the boxes that are blue are what time you would use that. And here's some pics of the fish that would be in the creek. So like that's an idea, like the flybrary would be on the right, and then that's an idea of like what the logbook would look like in the left side of the thing, the box. And here's some more photos of what the flybraries could look like. And that's like an idea of like a sign for like the history. And here's some more like different ways it's been implemented. So it's need one, take one, have one, leave one. And that's just showing how big or small they could be. And here's a summary: to make a flybrary for everyone to use at the Wappinger Creek access in Pleasant Valley behind the town hall. It will be posted on a 4x4 securely cemented in the ground. A sign on the back side to tell the history of the Wappinger Creek and a hatch chart. The front side will feature a 2-inch deep plexiglass box to hold the flybrary, as well as a log board to log catches and a sign for the fish in the creek. And the log board easily changeable, so that way it can be changed when it's filled up. And the signs are screwed into the post on that post. And there will be a foam pad like in the fly box for the hooks of the flies to be put in. And possibly a bench in front of the flybrary facing the creek. Any questions?
The one that you showed the picture of is pretty much going to be yours, right? The big,
Which one?
yep, keep going, back. That one.
Yeah.
Is that more like what yours is going to look like?
Kind of like it, except mine's gonna be like in a plexiglass enclosure so that they're all like protected from the weather and elements.
Excellent. And then there'll be another side to it, so it won't be up
Yeah.
against anything,
It's gonna
correct?
be, it's gonna, like the post is gonna be in between the two signs, so that on the back side, you're gonna have like the hatch chart and the history of the stream, and on the front, you're gonna have your fish pictures and the fly box and the fish log. So then the post will sit in between those. They'll be attached to that post.
And we'll make sure that we find a good spot for you.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Caden.
I just want
Oh,
to.
go ahead.
Just want to say, as an Eagle Scout and somebody who's been fishing for trout in the creek back here my whole life, this is so much cooler than the painting of a basement that I did for my Eagle Scout project, and a lot more creative. So kudos to you, and if you need any help and volunteers or anything, let me know. Thank you.
And also, how it would work, I would provide the first batch of flies to go in there, so that way it's started when it's complete.
And anybody who wants to make flies can bring it down at any time,
Yeah,
correct?
anyone who ties flies or wants to provide any can bring them down and put them in there.
Excellent. Do any of you have a question? No? Thank you, Caden. Michael, I'd like you to introduce the next.
Okay, up next we have Virgil, the chair of the Dutchess County Veterans Affairs Committee, and he also works alongside Assemblyman Anil Beepin up in Albany, supporting our veterans. So it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Councilmember Reifenberg, and thank you, Supervisor and Town Board. I'll briefly get into the work we're doing at the County Veterans Affairs Committee and how we're trying to advise. I had the opportunity to attend the Dutchess County Association of Clerks meeting last week. And this is probably something I been meaning to kind of come out here and talk about sooner, but this is really important for the backstory. And I'm telling you, as a veteran who served in combat, and I was really moved by the discussion, background, and movement toward the designation of the Purple Heart community here in Pleasant Valley. More often than not, you kind of see what goes up, you know the ceremony, but Pleasant Valley has really kind of distinguished itself. I deal throughout the county with very veterans issues, organizations, the VFWs, American Legions, officer there, but I got to tell you, this one really stood apart, and I made a point to want to come out here, and I really thank Councilmember Reifenberg and Town Clerk Moore for kind of encouraging me. So kind of when I get back and everything, it's one of these lost points. More often than not, the only time we hear about vets, unfortunately, is during the holidays during the year. It's this time. It's things that are happening now when there isn't Veterans Day that really matters most. And it's even more, I'm even more tickled at the thought of Boy Scouts coming up here and presenting, because they're really the backbone of community in the spirit of volunteering and trying to make this a better world. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say so. On the county level, one of the challenges we have is there's a lot of veterans here in the county dispersed throughout other areas. We roughly estimate approximately 14,000. I have the benefit of not working for the county. I'm retired from my life. A little about my background. I served approximately 8.5 years in the Air Force, and I'm a retired special agent from the Department of Defense. So in one way, shape, or form, I've been around the military world most of my adult life. And at the end of the day, everything we're fighting for is community and preservation of what we have here. Having been to a lot worse places around the world, it's not as sunny. But on the County Veterans Affairs Committee, we were chartered to advise the county legislature and the county executive on how best county resources can kind of be utilized. Easier said than done. There's a million different things to kind of look at when it comes to care for our veterans. This county is very challenged with a very interesting development. A majority of our vets are approaching 65 years old, which puts them roughly in the Vietnam era. If we anticipate, and I know that, among the vets here could probably corroborate this, if they served anywhere between 1961 to 74, 75, they'd be considered in that Vietnam era. So one of the questions we have is, with this increasing aging veteran population, how can we better provide services for them? How can the county, the towns, people kind of do a better job of it? We don't know. I don't know. This is where we kind of need help on the first fold, because we're looking at this from a twofold issue. First is services that are being provided to our aging vets. And we still have quite a few World War II ones still living in the area that served. So, that's just to show you. The second piece is the transportation. Unfortunately, and a lot of the discussions get centralized around Poughkeepsie. Poughkeepsie is a large city. Everything is close. There's a lot of stuff there. What about the areas outside of the city of Poughkeepsie, where maybe transportation's more of a challenge? So the two areas we're trying to get a better understanding of is some of the transportation challenges they need. What do I mean when I say this? There's about 5 VA outpatient clinics dispersed throughout the county. So one of the questions we're kind of looking at is, why can't the loop buses make a stop at every one of those locations? Also, we have plenty of veteran homes where the children have moved away. Maybe an aging member in their early 80s is experiencing some form of advanced illnesses. The other spouse is unable to provide or caretake in the way we need. Can we get ahead of that better? So these are two tremendous challenges. I don't expect to walk away from here even after this year's assessment, but we are reaching out, and we really kind of, we're open to suggestions, ideas on how best to kind of help tackle that. The county has a wonderful Office of the Aging. I've heard nothing but good things. Almost every vet I talk to knows the name Sue Serino in the Office of the Aging right off the bat. Well, are there some things that are being done that could be replicated, expanded? Having a long career in government, I know that sometimes there's various challenges. We're here looking for solutions, and we're looking for the best idea that wins. I don't know that. What I can tell you is that this advisory takes its position seriously. The veterans that comprise our committee bring some very interesting skills across the spectrum. We have a retired clinical psychologist from the Navy who works amongst us. So what we're trying to do is just get out the conversations in pieces, and I thought, what a better place to do it than the town of Pleasant Valley. Between the Purple Heart, between the banners, you clearly have an established relationship in something that's working. And even in the time that I've known Councilmember Reifenberg, he's proudly spoke of the town. I can see why. I wish some of the other towns could take note, but we want everyone to kind of develop things on their own. So I wanted to take this time just to say thank you, give you an idea of what we're doing, provide the information. We're really looking for, ideas, the people you come across. It's really their ideas that win. It would be presumptuous for me to come up here and say that I can tell them what their needs are. That's not my job. My position is to listen and try to articulate that in a manner in which our county leadership, which the towns are an integral part of, can support it, make it better. I hope I made sense with that. Are there any questions, comments? I mean,
I just appreciate you taking the time out of your night and coming here. Just want that, if a resident or a vet has an idea or a comment or anything like that, what's the best way for them to reach out to your committee that you chair?
I'd say they could reach out one of several ways. They could reach out to the county itself. Now, while we work very closely with the County Veteran Services, I do want to put this caveat: we are not veteran services. Now, it doesn't mean that someone calls me and needs help that I won't do whatever I can to help. It just means that we're trying to get a little, we're trying to kind of step back from the 25-meter issue to the 50 and ensure that maybe resources could be leveraged more effectively. Two things that came out of our committees were the grants, the micro grants for the veteran stuff, which the town took advantage of with the banners and with other things. This is exactly how we envisioned it. And these are the kind of recommendations we want to continue making. We just kind of want to move the soccer ball down the field a little further. Once again, we're trying to keep this simple, and I understand that when you're talking about issues such as advanced aging and transportation, these are enormous. But the journey of a mile does begin with a step. So, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that piece. And given how well you've all executed, and really hats off, I was really moved and touched by this, because I haven't seen this often enough, nor should it be. I just want to come out here and say that. So I can be reached by email or by phone.
No, thank you. I appreciate you coming here. But I think you have to know something. As we're all sitting here, I have to tell you, the person on the end is the one who did it all. I mean, we tried to help where we could with different things, but the whole thing was done by Mary Beth. And she had a couple of people helping her, if you want to say their names or whatever.
Yeah, Tony, Lisa, and Jeff. They're my Hometown Heroes Committee.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was a small committee that made a huge difference, and that's where all the banners came from also. So,
I appreciate you saying that, Supervisor. And one thing I want to say is, having met Town Clerk Moyer and having the conversations, I also understand that it takes an integrated team effort on the background. Sometimes the best assistance I ever did in my past life was not getting in the way or create a stumbling block. And this town, in this endeavor, I got to tell you, it just, you are the talk of the town, especially with myself. If you want to see how it's done right, just drive right down the road.
we appreciate that. Thank you very, very much for
I
coming
had-
tonight. Thank you,
I had
Michael.
one question.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, shout out Mary Beth. All credit goes to you and your group. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your
what
support.
did. Just curious, you mentioned the loop bus. That I have a question for your question. So what have you heard about the loop bus and being able to do that?
Well, we're still kind of working through it. This is a very long crawl to walk to run stage. But the first problem in overcoming a challenge is properly identifying it. We know it's out there. We know it's available. In recent months, we noticed that the loop bus is now stopping at Castle Point. Well, once again, at major centers, especially in Poughkeepsie and the city of Poughkeepsie, it works because of population proximity. We have a lot of veterans, especially of Korean War age and others, that live in some other parts of this county. Part of what we're trying to do is ensure that they're not forgotten about. And we'll be meeting with transportation to get a better understanding, A, of what they do and how they're doing it, and then, most importantly, getting the feedback from the veterans that would need it, require it. We all talk to people throughout the courses of our day. Are we really listening to what they're saying? And that's really what I'm coming out here, hat in hand, as well as thanking your awesome Purple Heart dedication, all this other stuff. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And
Thank-
when you were saying about the transportation, getting down to Castle Point for a lot of veterans, once they get there, there's a shuttle that can take them to Manhattan, Montrose, and the Bronx. But getting down to Castle Point at the right time and then getting back is very important for them. And it's a long day, between the shuttles. So I'm glad you're working on that. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Please, thank you.
Okay, on to quarterly reports. The assessor's report from Garth Slocum is, in January and February, we concentrated on handling taxpayer exemption renewals. The state enacted new rules for calculating income, which caused some confusion for the taxpayers. In addition, we once again received a large influx of new applicants for the low-income senior exemption. The office is currently concentrating on exemption review and the necessary changes to the 2024 assessment roll. Routine calls/inquiries continue to come in. Mostly these are regarding taxes, exemptions, and potential home buyers. Our next quarterly report is John for Highway.
Thank you. How's everybody doing tonight? So my report's pretty short. As everybody kind of knows, we've had a pretty mild winter this year, it's good and bad. I tend to find that mild winters, for some reason, seem to do more damage to the roads, because nothing freezes, nothing is hard. So when you hit it with a couple thousand pounds of steel, when you do have to plow, it tends to do more damage. That being said, if everybody hasn't noticed, the street sweeper's out. See a lot of posts on Facebook. A lot of people go, hey, spring's here, the street sweeper's out. So that makes everybody happy. So we're doing that. We're doing something different this year. Rather than contracting out to a company, I actually rented a street sweeper this year. And it looks to save the town, as of right now, about $20,000 so far by doing it this way and by us running it as opposed to going out to a private vendor. Roads are looking good. We're getting them in shape. Obviously, there's potholes that are open, that are out there. The plant opened up the second week of April, producing blacktop. So we were out. You'll start seeing our guys out there, weather permitting, of course. That being said, when you see the flashing yellow lights out there and you see the flaggers and you see the signs, please go slow. I promise we are not just out there trying to make you late for work. We're out there doing our job, trying to make the road safe and trying to make it so you can get to work safe. So please give my guys the courtesy and slow down, take your time through any construction site, doesn't matter. The other thing I would like to say is, I say this twice a year, snow season and grass season. So we go from snow to mow. And just to remind everybody that Section 1219A of the New York State Traffic Code says, do not blow your stuff out into the road. It is finable, it is punishable, it is prosecutable. And if somebody crashes in front of your house because there's leaves or wood chips or snow or grass clippings on the road, you can be held responsible. So please, and it's just a courtesy. Not just that, but if there's stuff in the road, then guess who gets called to go clean it up and get it out of the road? So that's more of the taxpayers' dollars that go out as well. Two other things I'd like to touch on really quick that I get a lot of calls about have been Route 44 and the Salt Point Turnpike. I can't take credit for those roads, but The supervisor and I have been in contact with both the state and the county, as the town board has been in the loop as well. As of right now, Route 44 is slated to start to be paved in May. And the Salt Point Turnpike is supposed to start after that. I haven't had a date yet, but I have walked the entire Salt Point Turnpike with their engineer from West Road all the way to the bridge in Clinton Corners. So that's, the plan is to pave from the West Road intersection all the way to the bridge in Clinton Corners, because after that bridge, it turns back over into a county road. They've also already been tagged as what they call limited use highways whenever they do a major construction. So that just kind of gives the idea, and it gives, hopefully, the trucks know it's now a limited use highway, try to find a better route so it doesn't disrupt paving. The paving on 44 is going to happen at night. We figured that was the best way to do it, because try to pave 44 on a Monday or Tuesday morning at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning when people are trying to go to work. I know nighttime can be kind of a hassle for some people on off shifts, but it seemed to be the lesser of the two evils. So that's what we chose. Myself and the supervisor had talked, and some members of the town board, and figured with the county and the state, decided that that was the best course of action. So I would like to thank my crew and my ever so diligent highway assistant that puts up with me. Sometimes it seems like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but I couldn't do it without her, and I definitely couldn't do it without my crew on the road, so I would like to thank them. So that's the end of my report, but if I could just beg for one more minute, and this goes with the Purple Heart thing really quick. I figured since I'm up here, I'm going to do it all at once. I worked with the town clerk, and as everybody knows, I'm replacing the road signs in Pleasant Valley. As much as everybody loves the wooden signs, I love them too. They don't stand up to DOT code. That being said, neither do the signs that say, "Welcome to Pleasant Valley." I don't know if you notice when you come into town on some of our smaller roads, there's little signs about this big, say you're entering the town of Pleasant Valley or you're entering the town of LaGrange, depending on which way you're going. So I had a thought. I spoke to the clerk, and we came up with a design. Now, this is a large design. I'm going to scale this down to fit a more moderate sign that'll be visible as you're coming into Pleasant Valley. But I would like the town board's approval to change the Welcome to Pleasant Valley sign to this. And I'll hold it up so that everybody can see. This is our town clerk.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
I think it's only fair that everybody coming into town, no matter which road they're coming in on, knows that this is a Purple Heart town. So if the town board is okay with that, then as I order signs to come into Pleasant Valley, because it is a
No.
sign change, so again, I just want to make sure I have the town board's approval to do so.
I'm sure everybody agrees with this?
I don't know if you
Yeah.
need to do a
Go
a
ahead.
thing
No.
or- Okay, great. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Any questions?
No,
No?
not at all.
Excellent.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you so much.
I'll be looking forward to Route 44 being done.
You, me.
I know it's not you,
My
but-
motorcycle.
Really looking forward to it.
Yes, I know. And Salt Point Turnpike too, which is in pretty rough shape.
Yeah,
so.
no, Salt Point Turnpike's really bad, yeah. Yeah, in a lot of cases it is, yeah. Mary Beth?
Good evening, everyone. So my report's going to start out, these are my figures that came in from January 1st to March 31st, 2004. So my office did 219 dog renewals, 1 dog tag replacement, 4 marriage licenses, 13 marriage transcripts, 32 death certificates, 18 fishing licenses, 36 copies, 1 return check fee, and 1 peddler's permit. So total monies that went to the supervisor was $3,369.79. Total monies that went to New York State was $1,631.21. In that time frame, I did 19 notaries. The transfer station. Please note, these amounts that I'm going to tell you is just income received from refuse ticket sales. This does not include any expenses that occurred, that the transfer station has incurred. So in January, we sold $5,464. In February, $5,429. In March, $4,693. So the total income was $15,586. For all of you who don't know, I'm also the tax collector. So, taxes so far. So the total warrant was paid to the town was $4,907,330.36. Total taxes collected to date was 3,216 parcels. I collected $7,851,416.51. I have 189 parcels that are still not paid. That amount adds up to $1,002,253.74. To date, I have sent $2.5 million to Dutchess County. We've collected $3,791.56 in penalties, and we had 2 return checks for $40. We have now entered into the 3% penalty phase that started on April 1st to April 30th. As of May 1st, the second notices will go out where we will enter into the 4% penalty phase. The last day of tax collection is May 31st. Then all my taxes unpaid are turned over to the county. We did 74 handicap tag renewals. Between planning and zoning and myself, we did 36 FOIL requests, and there are 3 pending. I'd just like to say thank you to Highway Superintendent John Baxter and his crew, and Beth for picking up all the garbage and miscellaneous items on the side of the road for our Earth Day month cleanup. We really appreciate it. We still are doing the cleanup until April 30th. So I've provided the town board with a copy of Resolution 149, 2023. It was a resolution waiving Hometown Heroes project fees for families of service members killed in action. The Hometown Heroes Committee would like to ask the town board for permission at the next town board meeting to amend this resolution slightly to add on any service members who resided in Pleasant Valley at one time killed due to extraordinary circumstances or non-combat related injuries. Along with the KIAs, the Hometown Hero would like to provide a free banner to the families that this happens to. For an example, we have a car accident. A veteran was killed in a car accident, so we would like to provide the family with a banner. So with your permission, I'd like to just make an amendment to that resolution for the next town board meeting,
Sure. Everybody okay with? Yeah,
that we would pay for their banner.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'd like to say thank you to the Dutchess County clerks. It was a fun day on Tuesday. It was my honor. It was my first time hosting the luncheon and our meeting. Many of the clerks wanted to know how to become a Purple Heart town. Thank you also to Virgil for attending our meeting. I would also like to say thank you to Supervisor Burton from the town of Stanfordville, their town board, and also their town clerk, Rita Mary Bell, for inviting me to speak at their town board meeting last Thursday night on how to become a Purple Heart town. This has really exploded. All towns want to become a Purple Heart town. Last but not least, thank you to the fire commissioners from the Pleasant Valley Fire District for displaying the Purple Heart flag in both their firehouses and recognizing and honoring our veterans for their service and sacrifice that should never be forgotten. And I'd just like to say thank you to my deputies, Kathy and Debbie. They've been working very hard on a policy and procedure manual for my office. My office strives to give back to this community every day, and I am truly blessed to have a great staff. Big shout out to the residents who believe in us, and we will proudly continue to service this community. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, because obviously you've set the bar very high for what you guys did on that committee, where other towns are trying to emulate what you did. So thank you on behalf of the whole town.
Thank you, thank you. I told Virgil today, I got someone contacted me, a clerk from above Albany. Their town wants to become a Purple Heart town. They heard about our town, so it's really exploding.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Makes me proud. All right, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, our next is for recreation, which was done by our Assistant Rec Director, Nikki Santos. Basketball, the season ended in mid-March, and they had 290 kids registered. Yeah. And hope to continue basketball throughout the year by bringing back our Summer Hoops program and basketball camp. Summer Hoops registration is live now, and we hope to get the basketball camp registration going soon once we solidify the dates. The Easter egg hunt was a very successful Easter egg hunt this year, partnering with Camp Pathfinder. They had over 300 kids registered and put out 3,000 eggs. We had a blast holding the egg hunt at Camp Pathfinder, and they have so many fields and trails for the kids to hunt eggs. We hope to continue this partnership with Camp Pathfinder for years to come. It was really a wonderful day, and by the way, it was like the only day that the sun came out, so that was a real blessing. Movie nights. We had our first Valentine's Day movie night this February, and we will host 3 more this year. Our summer movie night will also be a joint event with Camp Pathfinder. Keep an eye out for the registration. Adult soccer. This was the first year we had adult soccer. We rented a new gym at Bosie's, and our registrants loved it. We will have another indoor season next winter as well. Summer camp. Summer camp registration is here. We have a lot of new and exciting things happening this summer. For entertainment, there will be a visit from the Bubble Bus and DJ foam party, a magician, and a visit from the canines, and a visit from the fire department. For our trips, we are continuing our tradition of heading to Stanfordville and adding in the fun trip to Splashdown. You can register online for Camp Sunny Days at www.pvrec.com. Adult volleyball. 2023 was the first year that we did indoor adult volleyball throughout every season, and we are continuing that this year as well. Our spring session just started last week. We will have summer intertown sand volleyball as well. Keep an eye out for an email with registration dates. Spring soccer is officially underway. They have 99 players registered in our limited distance travel program for kids 10 to 19 years old. They have 99 registrants in our in-house program for kids 5 to 9 years old. And they have 32 registered for soccer tots, 3 to 4-year-olds. That's the cutest thing you'll ever see in your life. We will be practicing during the week at West Road and playing games Saturday morning. Come cheer on all of our Pleasant Valley soccer kiddos. Children's Garden. We received a $6,000 grant last year for our children's educational garden located at Helen Aldrich Park. They're using the grant to plant all new flowers and food, as well as put up a garden fence. There will be a bee mason jar workshop in the next month to get the season going, and registration for the educational sessions will be open to youth in the area. Keep an eye out for the registration. Huck Finn weekend. The Trout Gang Club is continuing their tradition and having their annual fishing derby the last week of April. Pleasant Valley Recreation contributes by donating the fish, the trophies, and the sponsorship sign. We hope to see you all there. Skyhawks, one of our new, more exciting endeavors this year, is partnering with Skyhawks to offer multiple new programs to children ages 2 to 14. We are now offering a sand volleyball and tennis clinics, as well as flag football, cheerleading, toddler sports, basketball, and so much more. Go to our website to check out everything we have to offer. Tall and Small Family Ball. We are hosting our first ever Kids Prom on May 10th. We hope this will become an annual event. This prom is open to kids who are 3 to 8 years old. Registration is free but required. Our senior program, we have 50 to 60 people come to the Friday get-together in this community room right here. We have had fun St. Patrick's Day party. They have a trip coming up on May 7th, which is full already, looking to do some casino trips this year, and there are a few trips booked for the fall already. Lisa Aravena is looking for volunteer arts and crafts instructor to come and help with the seniors once a month. You can reach out to the rec department if you are interested at pvrecreation@pleasantvalley-ny.gov. For all registrations, go to www.pvrec.com. We appreciate all the support from the community and want to give a warm thanks to all our staff and volunteers who make all of this possible. We have a lot of fun and new ideas in store and can't wait to share it with you. Thank you, Nikki.
Can I just say something before we
sure.
move on? So I just want to say it's been, as we all know, a hectic couple of months, and I just want to take the moment to thank our two staff, Nikki and Kristen, all of our coaches, all the volunteers, Tracy, who heads up our soccer, Richard Chapman, who heads up basketball. It's been a rocky couple months, and I hear the stories of what's going on the front lines, and I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate what you do, and it doesn't go unnoticed, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Planning and Zoning and Building, their quarterly report is they had 89 inspections. They had building permit total fees of $56,757.90. Total fees of permits, municipal zoning, planning copies, $69,075.30. And their new permits totaled 134. So they had a very, very busy month, a couple of months. And they also had 325 walk-ins during that time. Okay, I'd like to open the next portion of the meeting for the public comment.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for agenda items only, one time, 3 minutes per person.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If anybody would like to comment for agenda items only? Okay, not seeing anybody, I'd like to close this portion of the meeting.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. New business discussion, 12A, I'm going to open up to Councilman Reifenberg.
Yeah, so I just wanted to put a discussion item for a resolution that I'm introducing tonight that hopefully the board will support. It's a resolution opposing delivery rate increases that have been proposed by Central Hudson Gas and Electric they have to go before the New York State Public Service Commission. So they're looking for a rate increase July 1st of 2024. Some of the numbers they've put out there that it would result in an estimated increase of $30.12 a month for an average residential customer for electric, and $30.13 a month if for natural gas. Obviously, with every inflation, everything else, I kind of dug through their website and their presentation. I think they could do a better job of maybe putting some of these programs and stuff off that they're trying to raise this money for at a time where everybody seems not to have enough money. So I hope that we can pass this and send it to higher ups to maybe potentially influence their decisions. So I just want to have a discussion to see what everybody thought.
Well, I read it, and I completely agree with what we need to pass tonight. I think this is just, out of control.
If we set a precedence, then maybe all
Right.
the other towns will follow.
So I don't want to take credit that this, I came up with this out of nowhere, there's actually a movement right now. There's only a couple, I think Wappinger, there's only like 2 or 3 other towns within Dutchess County that have already done this. But this is coming from a group who's kind of organizing this big push up in Albany to kind of put this off for now. Especially, I mean, you know, with the debacle a year or 2 ago, there's still people in our community that owe thousands of dollars
Yeah.
because they weren't told that their bills were, you know, doing whatever. So I just think another increase on top of that, this is just not the right time. So.
Right. Thank you. Okay. 12B, transition to a workshop meeting.
Yeah, this might be the shortest agenda item ever, but I added this, and then I learned some more things. But I got some questions online, and I had questions myself. So in the interest of not fixing something that isn't broken, so that for clarification for those at home or here who don't know, I'm sure you all do though. But so typically the first meeting of the month is what's called a workshop meeting, and then the second meeting is the town board meeting. And there was a conversation here one night, and then I heard some other people ask me online, and they were curious about if there is still a workshop meeting or not. And there absolutely is. The first meeting is a workshop meeting. The reason I had flagged this is because I had kind of I wasn't really aware of how that process worked, frankly. But I'm very much in support of the board discussing things, transparency with the public, feeling safe or confident enough to come up here and say you don't know how something works and ask how things work or how decisions have been made. I think that's good for everybody. So that's kind of where this came from. But in the interest of not fixing something that isn't broken, we do that now. And the last meeting actually really felt like a workshop meeting, so that's kind of why I wanted to take this off. But Pleasant Valley decided to because typically in a workshop meeting, you don't allow the public to ask questions. The board speaks, the public comes and watches, and then everybody goes home, and then you have the meeting the next 2 weeks later to do it. What I wanted to ask you guys, because you guys have the history of it, is Pleasant Valley decided to allow public comment in the workshop meeting, which I'm actually all for. I just wanted to hear some history on like the thought process and logic that went into that, because I think it makes sense. But yeah.
So I remember coming here as a resident, and the workshop meetings, the way they had it laid out, they would have discussions on stuff, but then they would also start throwing in these resolutions on a workshop meeting, and then there was only one open time, and it was at the end of the meeting. So the board would take action on things, but, you know, sometimes people get up here and say the resolution has this big mistake in it, and we get to fix it. They just, from the resident standpoint, there was no opportunity to speak on something that was on some action that was going to take place. So then the town kind of started adjusting it, and the option was either to not do literally any resolutions on a workshop meeting and not open it to the public, or to do kind of what's happening now, which is open it both meetings to the public, which makes most sense to me. And we've even gone a step more in the previous board, is there's an open meeting in the open public portion of the beginning and the end. None of that's required, but yeah, that's kind of, from my standpoint, being a resident, not being elected, kind of what I've watched, it was kind of frustrating not having that open portion.
Got it. Let's not fix it. Next topic. Thank you. Hopefully you're watching at home.
Okay, Michael is going to do 12C for me, because I've said enough tonight. Would you please read that? Would you please read
You
the
want me to read
proclamation?
this?
Yes,
Okay.
please, yes.
Oh, boy. Town of Pleasant Valley Town Board Proclamation, 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 5th to May 11th of 2024. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of the local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of the government at other levels, And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk, now therefore, I, Mary Albrecht, Supervisor of the Town of Pleasant Valley, do hereby recognize the week, I'm reading this for you, do hereby recognize, now I see what you did, do hereby recognize the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our Professional Municipal Clerk, Mary Beth Muir, and her Deputy Municipal Clerks, Kathy Miller and Deborah Dougal, and all Professional Municipal Clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated today. You set me up.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Okay. 12D is town clerk's training for the new website, and Michael is going to take that one also.
Yes, so this
Thank
should be
you.
a simple one. I initially started the new website. Councilman Deegan has thankfully taken that over the last month or so.
Please forward all complaints to Mike.
To him. Listen, I picked out the colors and stuff, but besides that, I didn't do anything else.
Positive feedback to me on that.
So we're at the point where we paid for basically a 3-hour training session. And the idea is, we kind of did this with Granicus, but Granicus was kind of a multi-day event. They want to get everybody together that could potentially update and delete things from the website. One of the problems that we've seen with the previous website, or the current website, is first of all, it's outdated. Second of all, it's not user-friendly from the updating side of it. And the third part of it is we've never really, or we don't really have a designated person, or the departments don't really know how to update it. So what ends up happening is somebody will send me something, and then, or they'll send Deborah Dougal something, and there's really just this no set way of how things get on the website, which ends up just information doesn't get on the website. So we really have to move away from the way things are being done now, where we're relying on town board members who, I'll be gone in under 2 years, we should not be the ones updating the website. So it came up that there's certain things. So for example, Tony, the legislative aide, should really be taking on a lot of the agenda stuff and the basic overall updating and deletion of stuff on the website. But there's things like the clerk's office, advertisements, right? We rely on the clerk's office to put out RFPs, to advertise for positions within the town, meetings, stuff like that they're responsible for. What is that? Special meetings, stuff like that. So we were trying to get the clerk's office trained on this, and it was brought up about a budgetary thing of potentially providing a stipend. So I just want to ask the board what the board would like to do, and I don't know if there was some confusion or whatnot, but I just wanted to kind of hear from each council member of, you all saw the emails, how you'd like to handle that. Do we want to fund a stipend to have those things added, or do we want to take the stance of, well, the things that they deal with, we're not asking for anything above and beyond that, but move to this idea that they would be responsible for like their pages and stuff.
Go ahead.
I
Go
worked
ahead.
in the clerk's office and I was doing it and I was told I wasn't allowed a stipend. But honestly, I think each department should be responsible for their own department. So I think that's each department's responsibility to make sure that their part is maintained.
Yeah, and I think for Dan's planning, because Dan's and I have been trying to coordinate all of this, is I think actually this opened up a whole nother can of worms of a different thought process of, I think we just jumped to exactly how we kind of operate now, but to Councilwoman Chapman's point is maybe we need to take a step back and invite all of the different departments to take the training, because in all reality, they should probably be updating their own stuff.
So, funny you mentioned that. So if anybody watched the exhaustingly boring presentation I made about the website about a month ago, the update, it's actually going to be live much earlier than I thought. It's way ahead of schedule. They've already migrated it over. So the point of this training was to show everybody how it works, how easy it is to update it. It's essentially going to be as easy as putting something on Facebook. That's what they say anyway. But today they actually said that, because I asked them, I said, you know, so I think it was Deputy Clerk Deb that brought up, you know, wanting to check and vet with the other departments to see if there are any errors. That's actually, the time is now. So like, this is actually the stage where we should bring those people in to say, and I would actually, I'm gonna regret doing this, but to anyone here, and anybody who's watching at home, please email, not Mike, but email me. If there's anything about the website that you can't stand or that has been driving you nuts for years and years and years, email it to me, because I'd like to make sure that we catch that. What I guarantee everyone is when we do this, we're going to go live, we will have checked everything, and the first day you open it, there's going to be a mistake on the first page that you go to. It's how it goes. But if we can catch that up front, so on top of what Councilwoman Chapman said, I would say let's open it. This is our website, so if there's something you don't like about it, email me to make sure I pay attention to that. I'm rambling. The one flag here, though, is that if we have the clerk get trained and 2 council members trained, these are elected positions. So you need some sort of continuation with employees that know how to do this. I do think it's a little risky to have 20 people knowing how to edit the website, but there should be maybe a panel of like 3 electeds and 2 to 3 employees. You do need some sort of continuation.
Yeah, but I think just due to things changing all the time, I know sometimes when the building and zoning department was over hours, they would have to close. They can maintain that for their part of the website. You know, when Mary Beth goes to their trainings, they can maintain that part. You know, the assessor's office, they have different hours than the rest, you know, sometimes, and I just think that each department should be responsible for their own section. And as somebody who used to run the website, it's not that hard. It's a quick go in, boom, change it, and you're done.
I mean, I think the philosophy behind this website is one, we're about 3 decades late on this, but it's to make the website the central source of truth for the town. It's to get it off of social media. Social media is fine, but the point is the website is supposed to be where you go, and it can link to social. There's all kinds of awesome stuff that can happen later where it's even more interactive, but that's the point of this, is to have that be the place you go to instead of a chalkboard or instead of a board in front of the town. The website's the central source.
How about if we have, like, let's say the assessor's office has to close, okay, and not going to be open and Garth's away or whatever. How about if Maureen emails Tony the information and then it gets put on? Because I'm a little leery of having too many you know the soup story? Yeah, that's what I'm afraid
I think
of.
it cascades
So-
down, and you start there, and then there's
I
the back. We don't want to make any employee have to work off hours, right? They should never
Right.
have to do that.
Right.
That would be on elected officials to take that on, I think.
Right.
I mean, I would take that
I
on,
agree with that,
but
yes.
start there, and then it goes down.
So it'd probably be a good idea if they all email Tony, and then Tony can disperse or whatever, do whatever has to be done.
Well, I know when I was in the supervisor's office, when anybody needed something changed on the website, they came to me, and I changed it, so.
And this one is supposed to be so easy to use. I'm saying that like I know what I'm doing,
Hopefully.
but, yeah,
We'll find out when the training starts.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it would make sense for it to start with the legislative aid, and then it just goes down from there.
Okay, all right. Okay, 12E is a short-term rental law, which is going to be turned over to our attorney, Emily Svensson.
I have
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is exciting to be at this point with the short-term rental law. Just to define what we're talking about, short-term rentals are rentals of people's homes or parts of people's homes for less than 30 days. So what you would normally call Airbnb or VRBO, like that type of rental that's not for someone who's renting for the long term, but just for short stays. So this is obviously something that is happening in the Hudson Valley. A lot of communities have already put laws in place to govern it. So there are a lot of good examples out there to draw from and lessons learned in other communities. So last year, some concerns were raised from residents and from the staff in building and zoning that they were getting complaints and we didn't have a law in place in Pleasant Valley to regulate this activity. And so in coordination with previous board members, current board members, staff, the planning attorney, and then I have put this draft law together. And I met with Supervisor Albrecht and the zoning administrator and went through it, and we thought the next step, it's not actually being introduced tonight, it's just on for a discussion with the board to get your input on it, and then we can put it in a form to introduce, and then we'd have public hearings and such. So I just wanted to walk you through kind of what is in there and see if you have any questions or suggestions. So basically, this law sets up two different categories of short-term rentals, hosted and unhosted. So hosted is when someone lives in a home and they're renting out a part of it for people to stay in, and they're actually still in there while the guests are in there. So say you have an extra bedroom or an accessory apartment and are renting that out, but while the owner or the long-term person is still in the home. So that's one category. And then the other category is unhosted, where you're renting out the whole home or the whole unit. So we have different sets of rules in here for those two different categories. For hosted, where someone is home during the rental, the owner would need to get a short-term rental certificate from the zoning department. So there's a set of rules in the law for the amount of parking they need to have, the septic system, what kind of sign they can put up, only a small sign, that these can't be used for hosting parties or weddings or big events. It's just for overnight stays, those types of rules. And so if someone wants to have a hosted short-term rental in their home, they would put in an application. The neighbors would be notified. They would have to provide documentation that they're paying the hotel tax to Dutchess County. They'd have to provide a sketch of the property, and they would have an inspection by the town for fire safety and everything. And then they would get a short-term rental certificate, which is then renewable annually. So if there are any problems over the course of that year, they could be denied renewal the next year, or the certificate could be rescinded during the year if there's any problems. So that would all be through the zoning department. Now, for unhosted, where people would be renting out the whole place, you need to go through the same thing with the short-term rental certificate, but you would also need to go to the planning board for a special use permit, which what special use permit is to say that the use is allowed in that zoning district, but it's not necessarily allowed in every circumstance. It would be at the discretion of the planning board to look at the particular location and what impact it might have on the neighbors, and make a decision whether this is an appropriate place for an unhosted short-term rental. So people wanting to do an unhosted short-term rental would make that application to the planning board. They'd have a little more extensive review, again, notify the neighbors and all. And then if the planning board decides that it wouldn't be a negative impact on the neighborhood, they could award that special use permit, and then you still also have the certificate, which is on the annual basis. So that's how the law is set up right now. We set it up so that These could be anywhere in town. They're not only in certain zoning districts, they could be in any zoning district, but again, subject to special use permit for the unhosted. And we also set it up so that the town board would set the fee for the certificates, so you can decide what that fee would be on an annual basis. And the town board could also, if they choose, set a maximum number of unhosted short-term rental permits that would be allowed. So if you want to say we only want to start with, 50 in the town or whatever number, you could do that just to kind of keep tabs on the total number of them. And knowing that there are people already operating these short-term rentals, the law gives them 3 months to come into compliance by applying for whatever it is they want to keep doing. So that's what's in there. Open to any questions or comments?
Can I?
I have a question, Emily. Hosted and unhosted. I know some sites that someone lives in a main house and they have a second smaller home on their site. Would that home be considered an unhosted?
It's a good question. I think the way we wrote it is that the person has to live in the same building. So I can check that, but I think what the zoning administrator said is that we don't really allow two separate homes in many places in Pleasant Valley. So it's not something that comes up often, but do you have an opinion on how that
Well,
should
there are some farm properties. I know that there's a main house and then there's caretaker home.
So
Right.
would you put that in the category of hosted or unhosted? Yeah.
That's my question. Is that considered a hosted?
Well, we're making the law, so
Yeah.
it could be however you want it to
Yeah.
be.
And other question I have for you, I know there's hotel tax. Does the town collect a fee?
The town would collect the fee for this certificate, like for getting certified, but we don't have authority to collect a tax on short-term rental or hotel stays. The county has that authority. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is, you're gonna hate me, 'cause so I'm gonna start with the fact that I've just gone through this last year. We have a rental property up north that we host on Airbnb, VRBO and whatnot, and the town that we have that in, put regulation in. So I've kind of seen firsthand how some things are implemented and how some things are implemented, but they can never be enforced. So, the first thing I have is the whole hosted, unhosted. I personally, and I'm only one of 5, don't agree with that. I think it makes it very complicated. To Councilman Apicino's point with that one question, but also, if it's an unhosted, I'll give you an example. Let's say an elderly couple who's retired has a house that they live in 9 months out of the year here, and they snowbird to Florida, and instead of letting the house just sit there empty, they have me, their son, who lives up the block, and we rent it out on Airbnb, and I'm next door, and they supplement their income the 3 months that they're down in Florida. In that situation right now, we'd require them to go in front of the planning board, put $2,500 in an escrow account, pay the permit fee or whatever it is, leave it up to the planning board to decide if they like it or don't like it, and then realistically, what's going to happen is they're going to lie to the town and say it's a hosted short-term rental, or they're just not going to get the permit in the town, because I see we're still going to the zoning administrator here, and in the town that I own a property, and they actually made a part-time position for, I think, 150 permits total, and it's a full 20 hours a week dedicated strictly to enforcing these short-term rentals. So I'm against the whole unhosted, hosted. I think it should be straight across the board. If you're a short-term rental, you should be subject to our law and a permit. I do not agree with making them get a special use permit and having to go before the planning board and jumping through a bunch of hoops. Let's see. I love the fact that we put in here that they're not permitted on property that's accessed through a private road or shared driveway without the permission. I know personally people have been affected by that in the past. It's kind of a bad move if you're sharing a driveway with somebody and now you have all these cars taken over and it's not even the person that lives there. So I like that. Okay, I'm just, so I can give you, Emily, where I'm at. I'm under C, number 9. So it talks about the occupancy, and based off the septic tank, there's gonna be a maximum number of, like an occupancy number. Who's actually setting that with this permitting process?
So the number is based on the number of bedrooms, and the number of bedrooms would be based on the certificate of occupancy of the home.
Okay.
So I guess it would be when you're applying for your permit, whatever the CO for your home is.
They're gonna just base it off of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to 11, which talks about clearly visible notices in the dwelling. A, I had an issue with this up in where we do this. The name of the owner of the short-term rentals and/or authorized local agent and telephone number at which they can be reached 24-hour basis. I don't think as a town we want to force people to put their telephone number on a piece of paper that's going to be for the public. I'll give you an example. Is Airbnb and VRBO. They want people, if you're the host or the guest, to communicate through the app because everything's in writing then, and it protects both sides. The minute we put down a phone number, I guarantee you the guest is going to pick up the phone and just call the host, and then the host can say they never called or didn't tell them whatever. I think not having a telephone number actually protects both sides more than putting a phone number down or an address or anything like that. 11F, emergency evacuation instructions with a drawing of the premises included. That works in a hotel room, but I'm just thinking of our place. There's multiple bedrooms. This is going to be by the front door next to an emergency exit. I just don't think we need that. If I'm at the front door, I don't need to know the evacuation from the bedroom. So I personally would remove that. Let's see, D to H, which talks about the proof of $1 million liability and personal injury, naming the town of Pleasant Valley. What's the purpose? If somebody can explain to me why we would have to take out liability and name Pleasant Valley. And there might be a good purpose. I don't know.
I can look into that.
Okay, I would say we should get rid of that because I haven't seen somebody having to get $1 million policy and naming a town. I don't see the liability to the town. There's no difference in me living at my house or,
Yeah, I'll
What
have
was
to check
it?
why. I don't recall.
in that same section, section J, it gives an alternate. The owner may produce a certificate from a state licensed professional engineer verifying compliance of the prerequisites for the certificate the town's going to give. If we're going to do this, then we need to invest the money and have our people go out and do the compliance checks because is that what that's talking about?
No, it's not because of money. It's because there have been arguments about illegal searches and allowing people into residential homes. And so this is a suggestion that came from, I think, Association of Towns or maybe NICOM about giving people an alternate means if they didn't want the town official to come into their homes.
Me personally, I mean, if I own a business in town and I want to operate within the town, it's part of the process to get the permit to allow the town to inspect.
It's because this is a gray area between
Okay.
a residence and a business that it comes
Okay.
into play.
I'd prefer the town to do it, but that's
Understood.
whatever's legal. L, right below that, a short narrative describing the owner's good faith expectation of the use of the short-term rental. I get the point behind that, but I don't see the purpose. I mean, I could write out whatever. They're all guesses of how many nights I'm gonna rent and whatnot. I just think if we keep this more on the simple side, I don't know, like, for example, I might tell you I'm gonna rent 30 days out of the year. There's no way for the town to verify how many times I rented it. So I could lie or just put whatever, and I don't know how many times. So Section 3 under that, notification of neighbors, I think personally we should remove the entire section. As long as the town has verified that I meet the criteria to operate a short-term rental within the town, and I don't break any of those rules, I don't see the reason why I have to give my neighbors the number of rooms I have, the parking plan. I just think it's a little overkill. As long as the town signs off on it, I'm held accountable. Because what ends up happening is you have a neighbor who's just dead set against anybody ever renting the property next door, and you could be the best host ever and really vet your people, and they're great people, but anytime they see anybody there besides you, they're gonna call the town and complain about whatever, because they can. And sorry, I know I have a lot. But I figured before we put this out to public comment, E, 2B. It says the property owner ceases to be an owner, or in the case where the short-term rental certificate requires a primary resident, the primary resident fails to continue to reside at the property. Is there a situation where the town can require somebody to always remain as the primary resident there?
I think it's just because, it's written this way because the certificate is personal to the owner.
Okay.
It's not, it doesn't go with the property. So if the owner or the main resident leaves, then they would need to change the certificate to the new owner.
Okay.
It just, it wouldn't automatically roll over.
Okay. And I love the fact that this one is now not allowing them in some zoning districts and then allowing them in others. I think it's, if we're gonna allow this, I like that you changed it to be in every zoning district. I think it's fair. So I just, I think short-term rentals, I definitely think there needs to be a cap of how many permits we issue at any point. But I think overall, if it's regulated, we keep it simple, something that we can actually enforce, and understand that short-term rentals actually are positive things as long as they follow the rules, and we make it easy for them to actually get this permit, and we can monitor them, so.
No, I agree. I'm really glad that you went through it like that. It definitely needs to be regulated in some way, shape, or form, but I think I think short-term rentals bring a certain amount of people to the area, even if they're gonna go to Hyde Park and look at all the, the history or whatever they're gonna wanna do. I think that it's important for us to have some type of understanding of regulation. Thank you
And
for
I
that,
don't want,
Michael.
I don't want you changing the law based on just my comments. I mean, if anybody else agrees or
No.
disagrees with anything I said, please
Mhm.
speak up, because I don't want things changed and somebody else is going the other way.
So I had a couple questions too. It's probably impossible to answer this now, but I come at this from a different perspective, so I agree with most of what you said, Mike, if not everything. But in terms of the example of the snowbirds that go to Florida and want to add to the income a little bit, it's fine, it's valid. I think two things can be true at the same time. I'm concerned about the elderly people that are here. I'm concerned about the kids that just graduated high school or college and have to move back in with their folks. I'm concerned with the people that have to have their parents move back in. We all seen this. It's going and it's happening more and more. And what I want to make sure is that, and there's nothing to say that this conversation is even connected to that, but I think we should be careful as a community and a county to know the impact that short-term rentals could have on that challenge. If anybody remembers the Meet the Candidates from whatever last year, there was a story that hit me hard. A friend who was very involved in the community, was everything you want. He had to move because his rent increased 26%. And he had to take his 3 awesome kids and they had to move to Hyde Park because they couldn't afford it here. We want to avoid that. So here's where, and I'm not saying these are connected, but we should know. Anybody can look this up if you want, because this topic kind of pokes something that I care a lot about, and it's about affordability and making sure people can stay here. If you Google 2022 Dutchess County Rental Housing Survey, 2022 Dutchess County Rental Housing Survey, there's 2 reports that I pulled off of. This was done from County Executive Molinaro, and this is from County Executive O'Neill. But so a healthy stock is considered 5% of available apartments. That's considered healthy for the landlord, but more importantly, it's considered healthy for the tenants, where they actually have choice. Just so everyone knows, when we have conversations like this is where this can actually affect us later on. So we have a challenge in the county, but we have a challenge in Pleasant Valley more so than anywhere else. So healthy stock, again, is considered 5%. In 2021, it was 0.2. That's what we have here. So if you see people moving home with their parents, and their parents moving back in, there's a reason why. The good news is, year over year, and I know they're gonna come out with 2023, it went up 300%. So in Pleasant Valley, it's 0.8 now, but it's still woefully less. And we're not unique. City of Beacon in 2022, 0%. City of Poughkeepsie, 3. Town of Amenia, 5. They were the only one that had the level. Fishkill, 1.6. Hyde Park, 2.2. Pauling, 0. Pleasant Valley, 0.8. Town of Poughkeepsie, 2.4. Rhinebeck, 0.7. Town of Wappingers, 1.9. We're not unique in this, but it's relevant here. So, you know, we can say that there's hunger everywhere. What are we gonna do about it here? That's not what we do. We have a wonderful food bank. There's a housing issue everywhere. We can do things about that here. So the point of this is, this study, if you go to it on page 15 on both of them, actually, these are their words. On behalf of Dutchess County, a total of 827 units were offered for short-term rental during the third quarter of 2021. Many of these were likely the rental of an entire house or just a room within a house, which are not accounted for in the survey because they really don't affect it. They probably don't affect it, but here's the thing we need to know about. But a portion are likely to be typical apartments that are no longer available for long-term lease to local residents. So all of this is to say, I am curious to know how many of these short terms are more like an apartment, you know, where like somebody could rent it, and how many of them could have been long-term if they weren't? Because we should just know that. When we did the study in 21, there was 1 vacancy in Pleasant Valley. 1. I think it went up to like 9, but it's something that we're all facing. It's gonna happen more and more, and when you see 3 generations living in a house, it's because there's not enough housing. And these might be completely disconnected, but we need to be sensitive about this. Otherwise, we're gonna keep having great people leave because they can't afford to live here.
Just to clarify, so the distinction you're drawing is full housing units, like a whole apartment or a whole house that is exclusively used for short-term rental and otherwise could be used as a housing unit.
I don't have an opinion yet. I don't know enough
No,
about it,
just-
but
is
what
that-
they're
that's what you're
saying is
bringing up.
the county separated a whole house or a room in a house, which is exactly what was defined in this conversation. They're saying it has nothing to do with this. I'm more thinking of something that would be an apartment for somebody. And maybe the answer is 0, but we should know how many short-term rentals we have now, how many we're looking to add, and a cap answers this too. I'm also not looking to, if this is a way for someone to bring a little bit more income in, either because they can, or what I care about is because they need to, I am not gonna stand in the way of that. So it's like, we could take care of everybody. We just need to, you know, think it through. Yeah. And I do agree with the hosted, unhosted, that's gonna get really weird. Knowing who's home, we got other fish to fry, I think, than worrying about who's at home or not.
Also, if we pass a law that regulates short-term rentals, I forget if it was Legislature Sagliano or Houston, when we originally looked at this, I think we were on an email with them. The county will actually pay for, I think Granicus, which is what we use for agenda, they'll actually give us up to $5 grand a year, which will pull data from Airbnb and VRBO and help us on the back end of enforcing this. So the county is stepping up to help us regulate this as well.
Anybody else? Thank you, Emily.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Short-term, okay, old business discussion. We have, our first resolution is, I'd like to entertain Resolution 408 of 2024, opposing delivery rate increases by Central Hudson Gas and Electric Corporation.
So moved.
Any discussion? Dan? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to entertain Resolution 409, of 2024, amending the 2024 general budget fund.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to entertain Resolution Number 410 of 2024, authorizing payment of abstract Number 4 of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd like to entertain Resolution Number 411, 2024, authorizing payment of abstract Number 4P of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will,
I'll make a motion to
thank
allow
you.
Resolution 412 of 2024 on the agenda.
Second.
any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I move to table Town Board Resolution Number 412, 2024, awarding contract for lawn care and maintenance services to discuss in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Make a motion to allow Resolution 413 of 2024 on the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Did you say second? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
And oh, okay, sorry. All right, Resolution 413, 2024, authorizing payment of abstract 4A of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to open for public comment, new items only, non-agenda, one time only, 3 minutes a person.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody would like to get up?
Gary Vader, Salt Point Turnpike, Pleasant Valley. I would like the town board to officially notify State Transportation Department that Salt Point Turnpike is in such a hazardous condition that it's almost impossible to travel on without changing lanes or whatever, because it's just the cars, I mean, I have no choice, but I live on it, and that road, the holes are so deep. Yeah, no, they're down to the 3rd level. You can see where they have, and I have, over the last 2 years, talked to the people that have been on the crew working and the head of it. And this was supposed to be done 3 years ago. So, yes, I heard that it's going to be done after 44. A year after or whatever. What this would do the state would be liable for damage to cars. So I would hope that the town board could do that. That's number one. I heard the discussion here about the workshop, etc. I would like to suggest something that was done years ago, maybe on a quarterly basis, is have a public meeting where would be discussion back and forth. We sit here and I give a spiel on whatever, and there's never anything back. Have a meeting where there is a give and take on a quarterly basis. Okay. May 11th. I'm glad you gave a nice presentation. On May 11th, on Fox Run, there was a very overrun cemetery. And 3.5 years ago, I decided that somebody should do something with this, so I did it. I've been working up there recently with some helpers for 3.5 years, and I've been working a couple years. That cemetery will be designated as a burial place of a Revolutionary War veteran. So there will be a ceremony up there May 11th. I invite the town board if they come at 1 p.m. But I think it's something that is, every town doesn't have that opportunity, because this cemetery has been up there since the first burial was in the late 1700s, I believe. So it is, unfortunately, there's been a lot of vandalism, and it's taken, we're not finished restoring the whole thing yet, but we're getting there. But thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And by the way, Gary, I did contact the state, and they did say it was going to be this year, so for Saw Point Turnpike. I can't tell you where it's going to be because they're supposed to start Route 44 this next month in May. But I can't tell you, but I can tell you that they close for Blacktop at the beginning of October, so there's a chance it will get done long before then.
If they're notified, that gives them a little impetus.
Yeah, thank you. Seeing no other people get up, I would like to close the open public comment section.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to go into executive session for 105.1F, personnel.
I make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.
I make a motion that we come out of executive session.
Second.
Sec-
Sorry.
Third.
Sorry. Third. Fifth.
Did I just
All in
notify?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we need to untable?
Yeah.
Okay, make a motion to untable Resolution 112 of 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And how do I'm sorry. Okay. Town Board Resolution 412, 2024, awarding contract for lawn care and maintenance services. Whereas the Town of Pleasant Valley Town Board solicited proposals for lawn care and maintenance services for various town-owned properties, and whereas the town clerk received 3 proposals on April 12, 2024, and one was eliminated as not a responsible proposer pursuant to the Town of Pleasant Valley procurement policy. The lowest responsible proposer is Negres. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board hereby awards the contract for lawn care and maintenance services to Negres in accordance with their proposal, a copy of which is annexed hereto. Be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute a contract for the lawn care services for 2024 with Negres pursuant to their proposal in a form acceptable to the attorney to the town. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I adjourn the meeting at 9:47.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.